Hey everyone, this is Jay and you're looking at the AOKZOE A1 gaming handheld. I just received this. I backed it up on Kickstarter and actually backer 1111. And it arrived on November 11th. So it was meant to be. Let's check it out. And as you can see, I've already installed a bunch of games on there. And let me show you my initial impressions and experience with this. All right, so here are the accessories that it comes with. It comes with this 64 gigabyte USB thumb drive. That's actually a consolation prize because the devices were running late. And then it comes with this, I'm guessing, good luck charm, Chinese good luck charm, and this 100-watt USB-C charger, and I double checked, it is 100 watt based on the voltage and the amps here. So 20 volts times 5 amps, 100 watts. Comes with this braided cloth cable, really nice. Into the tablet. Now let's get into the handheld. All right, so first things first, I have it sitting on this little stand because of that ring light right there. And the ergonomics on this is really good. Like the thickness of these grips is just perfect. See that? And then this kickstand, it actually feels, I've had a Nintendo Switch, we've all dealt with that. This feels a bit sturdier. Too bad they didn't do the whole back plate. You have your intake here for the fans, exhaust up here, USB-A, USB-C. This can charge and do data. Headphone jack, the power light. It's blue when it's on, turns white when you're charging it while it's on. And then your volume control, plus and minus, and then power button. And a lot of these, in most videos, they look fairly cheap, but in person, yeah, it has that hollow sound, but it actually feels really nice. Triggers, feels good. Bumpers are clicky. Thumbsticks. These are the Hall joysticks, by the way, so there shouldn't be any stick drift. And then you have the face buttons, X, Y, B, A. These feel really good. The lemon-shaped start and back button has nice tactile feedback to them. This one is the home button, so if I open up a browser, I can press that and it goes back to the desktop. Let me lower this down. And the D-pad is terrible. Let's get that out of the way, but it gets the job done. I'm probably gonna put some grip tape here just to sort of get an idea of where I'm clicking, but I mean, if you're a gamer, you know this by muscle memory already. The only thing I don't like about it, to be honest, is just how shallow it is. Look at that. It's just, there's no height to it, and you can see the height on these are higher, and it feels like it too. Like, see that it doesn't click into the other directions. So these two buttons are added by AOKZOE, and so like I said, going back to the beginning, when you first turn this on, and I'll get to those, when you first turn this on, it's just like any Windows device. You'll sign in, you'll create your account, connect to Wi-Fi, do that whole shebang, and you're greeted with the desktop. Obviously, you won't have any of these icons, but you will have this installed. That's the AOKZOE app. A lot of these companies have their own. You know, you have Ioneo with theirs, AOK, and I'm pretty sure GPD has their own too. My point is, this one, I wish some things were default that weren't, and one of them is this button. So when you press this button, and let me show you that. I already sort of jumped ahead. It'll load this on-screen keyboard. That's the one for Windows. It's not device aware, meaning it doesn't know that you have a controller, right? So this one is a soft keyboard right here, and you can enable it by right-clicking or long press and then the AOKZOE icon, then enable soft keyboard. And once you do that, you can type anywhere here, press this button, and now it knows that you have a joystick. You can even press the right trigger to press enter, left trigger for shift, just like your game console. Alright, so press that to turn that off, and then long press, you'll hear a sound. It's almost like a mechanical sound when you connect your mouse or a USB device, and now the joystick becomes a mouse. And I think there's a lot of people that reports their device joystick not working because they forget to turn that off, and you can tell by that orange light right there. So long press, turns off. Last one is, or one of the last few here, RGB light here. So it's right here. And you can see it's turned off. By default, it actually has color. So you press Y, it'll turn that on. Press A, and there's a bunch of different color presets here. That's Monster Woke. AOK Classic is green, obviously. Colorful. Cyberpunk is pretty cool. It's like blue, then purple, pink. I stick to sunset. Oh no, flowing light. That's the one I like. Another thing you can do is press the right bumper, or the bumpers, and you can choose just is solid color. So let me see, green or lime green, and let me go back to flowing light. Right, so as you can see, you have your TDP here, performance. I set it to 28 watts. The fan curve is on automatic, but if you just go hover over it, press Y, you can unlock it. And when you're running benchmarks or some games that really needs cooling, you might want to bump this up to 100, and you'll hear it right there. So that's how it sounds at 100% fan speed. So you can press Y, goes back to automatic. You can mess with your GPU frequency as well, but I normally leave that off. Depending on the game that you run, if you're actually using this as a handheld, meaning you're not plugged in, then you may want to play around with your performance there to save battery. One of the most important things on here obviously is your TDP, but this resolution one too, and I will show you why. It's not just a shortcut, it's actually a really cool trick. So once you do that as your initial setup, another thing is you'll install your Adrenaline software. This installs your Ryzen CPU chipset drivers, as well as the Radeon graphics drivers. And I normally will do a Windows update. On the Discord, there was a bunch of people saying that it might cause issues. It didn't cause any issues for me. And another thing is go to gaming, turn off this Xbox game bar. And if you really want to push it, you can go to system and go to power and battery and power mode, best performance. But that's it really if you want to run it as a, high performance handheld. And obviously you can just use this or your Windows shortcuts for brightness and volume. That's another one too. Make sure you you lock the rotation lock right here, because if you don't, it'll do that. And I found out that natively this device is actually portrait mode, so it may run into some issues running old school games and software, but we'll see. And last but not least, you also would want to go to Microsoft Store, and if there's any updates, you can do it that way. I normally will also install MSI Afterburner, because that installs Riva Tuner, which I use for frame rate counter. All right, moving on. One last thing I want to add is this keyboard, the soft keyboard, is a lifesaver, because when I was trying to enter my Wi-Fi password using the Windows one, the buttons were so tiny that I was hitting the wrong keys, and I couldn't use this to manually select the keys, and then using this mouse was way too slow. So make sure you switch to that once again. And at the bottom, I don't think I went over this, you also have USB port, USB-C, that's also power and data, and then your micro SD slot right there. The speakers are nice, they're right here. Front facing, I like that over bottom firing. And if you're watching this from another country, it is election week in the US, so everything we see is all politics. So let's see. I'm not signed into YouTube, so we're gonna see random videos here. I just want to play some random trailer. See, that's another one too. I wish it would automatically load up when you touch that, but the device itself knows it's not a tablet. Just like a Surface tablet would know that when you touch that, it'll load up the on-screen keyboard. So 4K trailer. And I guess I'll show two things. The quality of the screen, as well as the quality of the speakers. So you have Mario here after all these advertisements. Skip trial. Let's see if I can run this at 4K. Nope. All right, so home button. Going back to this, I know I'm jumping all over the place here because I'm sort of doing this as things pop up into my head. That Adrenaline software, these are a few things that you got to do right when you load it. So you can select gaming as a profile. It just really affects if it uses input lag reduction. esports is the same, and obviously power saving will lower the TDP. What you want to do is go to display, enable GPU scaling, and go to graphics, enable RSR, which is Radeon Super Resolution, and sharpen effect. It's defaulted to 100. This will allow us to mess around with FSR. So once you have those, another one to note is under display here, custom color. This screen is not washed out or anything. It actually has nice colors, but I just like it would just turn up the vibrancy. So saturation, I have it at 125, contrast at 102. All right, so let's get to gaming. I'm gonna run Dragon Age Inquisition. Nowadays it's not a high demanding game, but when it first came out, you know, I think the PS4 can only run it at 720p 30 frames. It still holds up to today's, you know, graphic standards, and there's a bunch of mods for it, but this device can surprisingly run it really well at high or medium to high settings at 1200p, which is the native resolution for this device, 1920 by 1200. I'm gonna use this PS5 controller later on. Right now I'm gonna just use the built-in controls. So it's a little hard to see, but on the top left it will show us our frame rate. Let me go out of here and go to load up Riva Tuner. So that we can have our frame rates. So as you can see, native resolution and graphics. We have a mix of, let's see, high, medium, maximum, medium, high. So it's just a mix of high and medium settings. You can lower it down to medium to get a full 60 frame per second experience, but as you can see right now I'm getting 50, 56, and I am running it at 28 watts TDP. But even at this frame rate, this game is highly playable, you know. And I don't know if you heard that, but that was actually the vibration. So the vibration on this is not great. It's just like a tinny and it's the best way I can describe it. It's not even as good as cell phone vibrations. See, like that. So if you're watching it on the top right, you can see the frame rates. There's no lag either. Feels really good. So you can mess around with the graphics and even, you know, set it so that you get a constant 60 frames per second. And let me jump on to another game. Alright, we have Resident Evil 2. And just to show you the graphics settings real quick. DirectX 11, this is the non-RT version. We have high 1 GB texture quality, ×8 anisotropic filtering, max mesh quality, low shadow, shadow cache off, contact shadows, SSR turned off, screen space reflections, and the rest of these, volumetric on medium, particle on high, ambient occlusion is on SSAO. I normally turn off motion blur and depth of field. Depth of field is cool for that cinematic look, but motion blur is annoying. And let's load it up. Oh, that's not how you load it up. Alright, so let's see. So, beginning of the game, getting 60 frames, 65. So getting a pretty good frame rate here, and extremely playable. You know, it's a single player game, so, and as much as you want to match this the screen's refresh rate, which is 60 hertz. So even capping this at 60 would work well. I do want to show something with this game, and you can play around with the settings, but the one thing that you don't want to turn on is screen space reflections. So we were at 60 plus, now we are down to 45. Hey, nice reflections. Not. Let's turn that off, because that cost us 20 frames just to have that eye candy. And to be honest, I don't see much difference. So make sure you turn that off. And gameplay wise, very smooth. We're outdoors too, so once you go indoors and you go into those hallways, the frame rates like this, it'll skyrocket.
Police station. Almost there.
So let's just go to the police station and get to our next game here. Psych. Alright, let's get to the next game. Alright, so now I have God of War loading. Very fun game if you haven't played it yet. I actually have platinumed this on the PlayStation and the PC. So sad. And what's interesting is I haven't played Ragnarok yet. So I'm waiting for that when I have even more free time. So let's see. Earlier I was telling you about that resolution shortcut there, and that's going to come into play for games like these. So full screen games will benefit from that. Settings, I have everything on low, and then display FSR 2.0 is set on performance, and sharpening is maxed out. And with FSR 2.0 running at performance, that is running at a 960 by 600 internal resolution, being stretched out into this 1920 by 1200p resolution. So we're going to continue here. And so you can see outdoors getting about 34 frames per second. I mean, it's still playable. This was 30 frames per second originally on the PS4. You know. Alright, so that button, press it. Resolution 1280 by 800, and touch the screen. There we go. It went up to 40 plus or low 40s, but it essentially told the game that our resolution went down to 800p, and it's running it at that resolution and an even lower internal resolution of 640 by 400. Alright, keeping up with me? Alright, you got this. And then obviously it does make the UI slightly bigger, and you know, the textures doesn't look as crisp, but I mean, if you want smooth gameplay, then this would be it for you. go back to 1200p, and there it is. So that is what that shortcut is for. It's a nice little trick to kind of trick the system right away. And this is a fun game. You should play it if you haven't yet. On to the next one. Alright, so for the next game, I'm going to start using the PS5 controller. We did Resident Evil 2, Dragon Age Inquisition, God of War, and now we'll do Spider-Man. So settings, full screen, FSR 2.1. I'm going to turn up dynamic resolution scaling, and I'm going to set it to performance for the FSR. Let's see, sharpness, let's increase that to 5. Okay, let's play. Alright, so settings, graphics. So I'm going to be using 1200p just to start it off, but I'm going to be using FSR 2.1. And then we'll lower it to 800p just for additional frame rates.
Wonder what kind of trouble Shocker's into this time.
So as you can see, game looks very nice. Let me load up a save file during the daytime.
Suit's seen better days. I think I can repair it at the lab.
Alright, here we go. And as you can see, we're in the 40s. Plays well enough. And this is outdoors, so it's gonna kill the frame rates just a bit more than playing indoors. Graphic looks crisp. And I'm gonna match it to the Steam Deck's resolution, which is 800p. Actually, let's see if the shortcut works for this game. It does not work for this game. So as you can see, sometimes it bugs out like that. So we gotta do it the old-fashioned way of setting it in-game. And we went up to the 50s, but let's swing around because we were getting low 40s. So it's fairly similar. It just feels like we're getting about maybe 6 frame rates more than we normally would get. Also still looks very nice. But I do like the native resolution crispness more. That makes sense. So let me switch it back to that. Not sure why it's doing it step by step, but yeah, looks a lot better when you set it to native resolution. Got a little lag spike there. But overall, I mean, plays really well, especially for a handheld. As you can see, we're also not plugged in at all. Not that it would matter, but these are also killing the batteries. So really it's just a matter of battery life at this point.
All units, a break-in was just...
Next game. Alright, next game we have Mass Effect Legendary Edition. And I'm just gonna run Mass Effect 1 Remaster. And going back to my point earlier, single player games like these are the best for this handheld. So this one, we shouldn't have any issues reaching 60 frames per second. And we're actually going above 60. So it's not a hard game to run, but you know, it plays really smoothly on this. Options, graphics, so native resolution. I normally turn off VSync, but our eye candies are on. AA, ambient occlusion, dynamic shadows. Let's see, let me load up an outdoor location here. There you go, still completely playable, but most of the game isn't even spent on outdoors like this. It's mainly indoors. With, you know, in cities with a bunch of other characters. Which reminds me, I gotta get back to really playing this game more. So it's going above 60, which is really good.
Yes, Commander.
Carry on, Presley. Next game.
Carry on, Presley.
Alright, next we have everyone's favorite Witcher, Geralt of Rivia. So 60 frames per second in the towns. I did have to turn down a bunch of the settings, or had to turn a bunch of the settings down. And as you can see, pretty sure the sky doesn't have anything to do with the settings, probably just the time of day. So let's actually meditate here so that it is 9 a.m. and hopefully the skies clear up. Alright, here we go. So it looks slightly better, but I guess that's just how the clouds are here. Very playable, as you can see, moving the camera all around. And graphics settings, we have the resolution is 1200p, so native. Full screen. Hairworks is off, that always kills frame rates. Medium background characters, low shadow, high terrain, low water, low grass, medium texture. Foliage visibility is low, same as detail level. And post-processing, most of it is turned off except for bloom, sharpening, chromatic aberration, vignetting, and light shafts. And if anything, I can probably bump up the water quality a little bit. And slightly looks better, the water, and probably took about 5 frames from us. So as you can see, you can play around with the settings. Let's see if the trick works for this game. You can also lower the resolution so that, let's see, I don't think it did, but nope. So let's manually lower the resolution here, and that should give us some nicer, hold on, lowering the resolution to 1280 by 800 really made the UI blurry. But now I'm getting over 76, 80s. So I guess going 800p for this game, I mean, it still looks nice. Now you're getting about 15 frames extra. I will do one more thing. Let me set it to 720p. I think this game is using 16 to 9 for the UI. And of course the screen just stretches it out. So 800p, fairly good. It goes over 60 frames per second. 1200p. Let me try 1080p actually. So you can see the UI is really blurry. Looks a bit nicer, a bit stretched out, and I'll turn off full screen. Maybe this can do borderless window. Oh, it does. But that totally messed up our UI. So let me see if I can get that back. Windowed. Nope, still nothing. Windowed, but using a 16 to 10 aspect ratio. There you go, looks nice. So borderless window is the way to go, and our text and font still looks fine. So as you can see, 800p windowed works well for this. Now I'm getting over 70 frames per second. Graphics looks crisp, UI looks nice. Frame rate is there. There you go. Witcher 3 in HD. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, next game. Run. All right, next we'll play the newly released Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection. So this is 4 and the DLC, forget what it's called. And as you can see, the UI has changed. This is actually the beta for Steam OS, or the Steam software. And obviously it looks like the Steam Deck OS, but it's just the gamepad UI that you can easily do on desktop. So this game makes use of FSR, which is going to help us get some nice frame rates. And just going over the options, I have everything to low, set to low. Display is on performance, and I didn't cap it to 30 frames. Let's check it out. Alright, as you can see, fairly good frame rates in the 70s. It also still looks nice. It's not native, obviously, but you know, you're playing a AAA game at this resolution. No lag, everything looks great. So if it's a game that's well optimized, you'll get some nice frame rates. And one other thing is, under display you can set to balanced, and for some reason it's reading my screen as 800p because I set it to that. So that was running at 800p at performance FSR. Right now we are gonna we're gonna get 50 frames per second because this is now on 1200p, and it looks much crisper. Graphics look nice, the texture, and I believe this is still on performance FSR. Oh no, it's actually unbalanced. So we can even get higher frame rates by going to performance. So there you go, just below 60. And to be honest, I was playing this at 1200p performance setting. You know, it's a single player game. There's some parts where it's fast paced, but for the most part, you know, it's an Uncharted game, so there's explorations, and it looks really nice when played this way. If you haven't played this game, make sure you don't miss this treasure right here. See, that was my first achievement. Alright, so next game. Alright, next we have Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Graphics is set to the lowest. I'm running it at native resolution, but internal rendering is 75% of that. And I'm going to use a controller because that's the one thing that I would avoid this for, is shooters, because you're actually playing and moving the screen at the same time, so you could get dizzy doing that. I'm going to be using good old PS5 controller, and let's try for a quick team deathmatch here. So the one thing that I would have wanted for this screen, I know it's only 60 Hertz. Hopefully in the future they can do 120, but one thing I would have wanted is FreeSync. FreeSync would have helped this because the frame rates fluctuate so much between, you know, 60 to 30 in some games. And it's gonna get annoying, but I'm actually gonna turn up the fan. Because we're gonna need that. Did I break the game? There we go.
Guns up, HVA. Commence your assault.
And I joined a losing match. Good job. Ah! Alright. It's a weird angle for me while I'm doing this, so bear with me, please.
Enemy counter spy plane inbound.
Take that. Ouch. Snipe in the face. Now we're gonna try to win this for the team, guys.
Throwing stun.
No! We caught up slightly.
Stun thrown.
Ow!
Proximity mine was destroyed by hostile action. Confirming kill. Throwing granate. He is down. In the lead.
Yeah, we got the lead.
Contact down.
Take that.
Enemy sentry turret detected in your AO. He's gone. Spy plane standing by. Enemy sniper.
Ah, how? Alright, next is Modern Warfare 2. I ran into an issue. You guys might benefit from it. So I can use my controller here, but I had to turn on the mouse and keyboard button on here, or the mouse button on here. But if I turn it off, it reads these as the joystick or as the gamepad and not this. See? So it's a way of tricking the system. So it thinks you unplugged the gamepad and now you can use this one. So let's do a quick play here. Modern Warfare 2. Everything is set to low. With FSR 1.0 set to performance. AA is filmic. Let me lower that down. And let's see what kind of frame rates we can get. Of course, I joined another winning game. So I'm getting about 100.
Enemy UAV overhead. Hostile UAV in the area.
Covering you.
Got him. About over 80 frames per second.
Changing back.
But I don't know if you can see that there's some lag spikes that I'm getting. Oh, there's another one. Whoa, behind me.
Covering you.
So I'm not a fan of the spikes that I get. But for the most part, we're getting 80 plus frames per second.
I've got your back. Incoming. Our UAV is
Ah, I knew it. No, I didn't. So the lag spikes is getting annoying, but I think we can set a frame limit to prevent that.
Switching max. Enemy UAV overhead.
But as you can see, we're getting pretty good frame rates. 80s, 90s.
Gaining ground. Don't let up.
Who killed you? That guy.
Friendly UAV online. Covering your six. Hostile missile incoming. I want to feel your hair right now. You are the place my only.
Alright, we have Tales of Arise. Single player JRPG. And as you can see, runs it really well. 60 frames. Dips down to high 40s, but with this kind of game, it's really nice. And
if you get close to a Zoogle, they'll attack.
let's get into combat.
Don't go charging off like that.
Rising warrior. Slash.
Don't let them form a pack.
Rising wyvern. Dragon. Run. Okay, here I go. Swallow blade. Slash.
This is it. Dig deep.
This year's tracker done.
No excuses. This is up to us.
We're on the home
One
stretch now.
final push.
You're right.
Give them all we got. I'm sure I could put this to use.
And as you can see, the colors are very vibrant. They pop. And cap this at 60 frames because that's all you really need. And on to the last thing. I've already shown you, some easy games to run, some demanding games to run. And now we're gonna end it with a benchmark, 3D Mark. Alright, we have Night Raid. This is really the test for integrated graphics. So we'll see how it does. Alright, so we got an overall score of 22,218 in Night Raid, which has actually gone up from 4 months ago when ETA Prime reviewed this. He got 21,572. Alright, so we got 6,527, which is also better than ETA Prime's score of 6,127, so it's a little bump there. We also get this idea of how much frames per second we would get from these games. So Fortnite is very easy to run, GTA 5 145 FPS, 30 frames for Red Dead. Alright, last but not least, we have Time Spy. This is a DirectX 12 benchmark, so it's a little bit harder on the machine, and that's why I prefer Firestrike, because that one is DirectX 11, and really more games utilize that API over 12 at the moment. Alright, so here's our Time Spy score, 2780, and once again ETA Prime got 2588, so I'm guessing there was some optimization of this device through BIOS before they shipped this out. All right, and that is pretty much it for my super long first impressions video on the AOKZOE A1. I really like this device. I know most people got the blue and yellow color, but I'm liking this off-white look. I just hope it's not like the OLED Switch where it turns into yellowish color. But I'll update you guys on that. So in terms of screen resolution, power, it's just perfect in my opinion. Hopefully they manage to upgrade this to a 120 hertz screen with, you know, FreeSync. But most definitely that'll hike up the cost. And let's see, I know that most people will compare this to the Steam Deck, and you know, having owned a Steam Deck as well, I think they're in their own different leagues. You know, the Steam Deck will be cheaper but less powerful, and that's actually the reason why I got this, is because it wants you, I mean, it gets you wanting more, you know, in terms of power. And this device, not perfect, but it gets you there a little closer. It's good for, you know, road trips or train rides, things like that, or just, you know, gaming on the bed, on the couch, and yes, in the restroom. I know you do that. Let's see. So I'm actually gonna do more videos on this, more gameplays. Let me know which games you'd like me to test. I also have a dock that I want to test out. It's a Steam Deck dock, but it'll work really well for this, and you'll see it in the next video. Thanks for watching. See ya. Subscribe and like. See ya.